Welcome everyone to this conversation on the race to digitize automotive dealerships of tomorrow. I'm Ramia Faraj. Auto dealerships need to adapt to the rapidly changing ecosystem where consumer expectations are constantly evolving and there's demand for a more personalized experience. With technological upgrades and innovations, companies are moving towards disruption while also adopting a customer-centric approach. Through digitization, they're also able to provide online services like omni-channel platforms that cater to the needs of their customers. Forbes Middle East, in partnership with Masaood Automobiles, is so pleased to gather experts from the automobile industry to discuss the innovative strategies that are being implemented to enhance operations and tackle obstacles within the industry. We're joined by Irfan Tansel, CEO at Masaood Automobiles, Mohammed Jada, Group Executive Director at Jada Group, Sami Amin, Senior Director of Operations at Careem, and Ms. Nuzhat, Merchant Digital and Customer Experience Manager at Forbes Middle East. Thank you so much for being with us today. Now, Mr. Tansel, what are your thoughts on the impact of new mobility services and how are these services really transforming the automotive industry in the Middle East?
Thank you, Ramia. I think this is a hot topic that's being discussed everywhere, and especially in automotive environment. The sector is rapidly transforming right now, and everything is towards digitization, everything is towards ease of purchase and the providing of services that we do for our customers. And some of the global trends, which we should never ignore, are very good indicators of the way the industry is going forward. For example, Autoscout 24, which is one of the most selling websites in Europe, has about 300 million hits per month in their websites on vehicle purchases. So everything is going digitized. And we in Middle East, it is not about if it is going to come here, it's just about when. And in fact, majority of the businesses have already geared up towards the digitization. If you take a look at our, for example, company, we see in our digital platforms, the leads have increased by over 75% from last year to this year. So there is an involvement that's taking place, and customer journey, customer wants and needs are the main driver of these changes. May it be in vehicle sales or the services that we provide to our customers, digitization is absolutely coming up front. As I mentioned, driven by convenience for customers, speed, and also at the bottom of a click in your mouth. Simply, I think automotive is going to go towards what Amazon does with the rest of the products.
75% is really a very remarkable rise, which can't be ignored. Now, Mr. Jada, how can the auto industry really keep pace with the rapid transformations in the area of transportation as a service?
Very interesting question. We've seen the technology trends really have an impact in revolutionizing the automotive industry over the past few years. I mean, case in point, we have Sami here from Careem, and definitely Careem and Uber in this part of the world have really impacted the way people approach the concept of transport and the concept of owning a car versus using a car. We've seen a few years ago, pre-COVID, a lot of people changing their mind about purchasing cars, especially expats living. I mean, in Qatar, in the region, people thinking, we don't actually need to own a car. We have other transportation needs thanks to Uber, to Careem, and therefore they didn't want to put that investment in buying a car. COVID did put a pause on this, but I think that as Mr. Irfan said, it's not a matter, it's not a question of if, but when this impact is really going to come to the region. All over the world, we're seeing, car manufacturers trying new formats. Volvo, is quite famous in the US for going on this whole leasing program. Geely, which is the biggest Chinese manufacturer nowadays, has launched in Europe through their subsidiary Lynk & Co. a whole car sharing service, which is gaining a lot of momentum in Europe. Now, I don't think that the GCC in the Middle East in general has been ready for that as of yet, the car sharing. I think there's a cultural aspect that plays and that will have an impact on how this technology is impacting each region. There is the idea of sharing in the Middle East, the same asset, let's say, is not accepted by people yet. But eventually, I think that the automotive industry will have to prioritize e-service over a simple purchase, aspect. Then there's the dealer side, and the dealers is where puts into question how does a dealer can turn around and pivot to be able to actually be a service provider other than just a middleman selling the car.
Perhaps the younger generation will be the first real mainstream users of transportation as a service. And Mr. Amin, I'd like to ask you, as it gains momentum in the Middle East, how is Careem really enhancing its transport services through the adoption of technologies and digitization?
So Careem is first and foremost a technology company. And of course, we try to improve the customer experience all the time. One thing that we invest quite a lot into is our AI platform. We use our AI platform to enhance the customer experience by learning and personalizing and anticipating the pain points of our customers. Like as an example, say an iftar meal. Customer expects that the iftar meal arrives at a certain time warm. Our AI will pick the closest captain to ensure that the meal arrives on time and warm. Similarly with Careem Bike, which is a station-based bike share scheme, we try to understand where the demand is from a public transportation perspective and place the stations in a way that we can serve the customer base most effectively.
Now, Ms. Merchant, I'd like to ask you, in order to really respond to rapidly changing market trends, what key technology innovations has Ford adopted to stay relevant and to stay ahead of the curve, really?
Thank you. So car manufacturers have known to compete on their engineering capabilities, performance, design, reliability, and pricing. While all these aspects still matter, we recognize that in an evolving, digitized, customer-centric world, to be in lockstep with the target audience, we now also need to focus on customer-centric innovation. And it starts right at the beginning of how a car is built. So to ensure we're meeting the customer where they are, we must be geared towards their demands, from producing electric vehicles, for example, to delivering an effortless shopping, buying, and ownership experience, as well as winning their long-term loyalty and respect. For example, for the delivery of our fully electric Mustang Mach-E, Ford brought the entire purchase process online, from registering interest to purchasing and vehicle optimizations. In fact, customers were also invited to virtual showrooms and provided with an in-depth content around vehicle features. Another one is over-the-air updates. While that is not an industry first, in terms of scale and reach, Ford aims to have 33 million vehicles be ready to receive these updates by 2028. And in fact, just in the past 2 months have sent out 100,000 updates. Also with Ford Pass Pro and Ford Live, we have democratized uptime, fleet telematics, and remote diagnostics available for Ford commercial vehicles. And this is for our EVs as well as internal combustion engines.
So bringing the entire purchase process online is certainly in keeping with the changing market trends. Now, Mr. Tansel, could you elaborate on the changing role of automotive dealerships from a product-focused business to building long-lasting relationships with customers?
Yeah, that's very interesting because I think it all starts with the definition of what dealership really does. The product-based to customer experience-based transformation is very, very important. And the definition of product comes first in mind. I believe the product of dealerships is not cars or not spare parts that we sell, because we don't produce them. It gets produced by manufacturers where dealership like mine or Mohammed's dealership have very little influence into those products. What our product actually is our service, the service that we provide to our customers, the way we sell the vehicles, the way we offer convenience schemes for them, the way we make their journey seamless as possible. And that actually it's at the core. And with us, for example, if to address this, we have established a customer experience board member to ensure that everything that we do is around customers, around customer experiences. And that is obviously triggered by, as Sami was mentioning earlier on, with proactive data-driven decision-making and collecting as much data as possible about our customers and their preferences in order to ensure that we provide the services that they need. And today, if we take a look at it, many of the companies are getting ready to revolutionize their dealerships. May it be from moving away from bricks and walls to digital space and customer experience, or also affordability. If we are expecting over the next 3-4 years that revolution really it's going to come to Middle East, a lot of things are going to happen, and one of which for dealership is the margins are going to go away. After sales is going to suffer, which is the backbone of our dealerships, because electrification of the vehicles is going to ensure that electric vehicles have 60% less moving parts. So the income of after sales is going to drop. So everybody is at the moment planning and formulating the strategies, how we're going to tackle this. And one of the ways to tackle this is obviously to create efficiencies. And efficiencies are created usually through process updates and digitization of your processes. And that's the journey. I think there are two major trends that's going to disrupt our businesses. One of which is electrification of vehicles. The second one is the autonomous drive. Autonomous drive, I think it's going to take quite a longer time until it arrives, because it requires legislation, it requires also governance. But electrification is around the corner. Today, you see about 10% of the vehicles that are being sold globally are electric vehicles. It hasn't hit the floor here yet in that magnitude, but it's going to be very quick, because the 10% in the rest of the world is subsidized by government, legislation, and driven by net zero promises that the governments have made. And here, I think there are two factors of these vehicles. The burdens for developing it further to global standard, one of which is electric vehicles are more expensive because the battery is expensive. And second one is the infrastructure that's not available. So I expect over the next 3, 4, maximum 5 years, those two to come to a level where the customer preferences are going to shift to electric cars. Cities will have better infrastructure, and the battery technologies are being invested in, so they're going to become more affordable. And Mohammed's and my businesses are going to have to get ready for the loss of those income.
Yes, and with 60% fewer moving parts, I mean, there's certainly incentive for consumers to buy EVs, but that's going to take a toll on your after-sales service. Mr. Jada, how are customer-centric innovations really redefining the automobile industry?
Customer centricity is very important. He was talking about autonomous driving, and I think there's the legislation, but there's also customer readiness to accept and absorb the idea of being driven by autonomous cars. And a lot of people are still, for example, not ready for that on a global basis. People think, what if I'm in a car and we get into an accident? There's a lot of cultural aspect to that. So sometimes the automotive industry comes up with concepts. It's not only the legislation as much as is whether you have a customer base and customers who are ready for that. But going back to really of your question and picking up on, you did mention the millennials, and this is where there is a path where the automotive industry is going over the past, let's say, decade, where these millennials are more and more ready to actually have the information immediately at their fingertips, especially with social media. So the interactivity between the customer and the brand is virtually immediate. People, now with the social media platforms, they expect the answers immediately, and when they want to complain, they complain immediately. It's much more difficult to actually have a one-on-one conversation. It's a public conversation that happens at every point in time, but it also allows people to actually come ready to the showrooms with having a maximum of information. The salesperson doesn't have the same impact on informing the client. The client is now pre-informed before coming to the showroom, and all of this comes from this focus on customer centricity. The brands are more and more insisting on knowing their individual customers very well. They can profile the customers and know what are their expectations. With all this, comes the question of the real, and that's probably where Jada or Masaood will have to really question on their role in that aspect. We're seeing more and more, especially in the West, in Europe, in the US, manufacturers rethinking their distribution format. It started obviously with Tesla, but now brands like Mercedes are now saying, we're not going to sell our EV cars through our traditional dealership model. We will sell it directly online. So manufacturers are trying to get closer to the end customer and have a direct line with them. Therefore, there is a question mark as to how does a dealership reinvent itself to actually keep being, having a raison d'être and keep on being active in the next decade to come, when manufacturers are going to try to say, I can have direct access, I can deliver the car directly to the customer without having to go through a dealership in any country. Obviously, customer centricity doesn't stop at the sales, because I've been talking a lot about sales, but there's the whole after sales model, and this is where a dealership does have, and this is, I mean, joining what Irfan was saying earlier, we sell a service. It's not only about selling the product. We don't have any impact on the product, on the parts, but the whole service model where it goes back to the after sales, and obviously all the financing activities in terms of in-house financing, leasing, giving these opportunities, which some manufacturers are doing in other markets, but when it comes to smaller markets or more remote markets like the Middle East, it becomes much harder for them to do it on their own.
Absolutely. Now, Mr. Jada emphasized speed to us and talked about the speed with which millennials need answers. And how are you providing your customers with access to easier and faster and more efficient mobility services to really keep pace with these evolving expectations?
So like Muhammad said, one size fits all doesn't work anymore in the current mobility space. We really need to understand what the customer needs and address that effectively. Things that Karim does is, for instance, our joint venture with the RTA, bringing Hala to life, which is an affordable taxi service in Dubai, increasing our fleet size significantly in the city. But we also launched our micromobility service in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Micromobility is a very effective tool to enable commuters to use public transportation more effectively. As Irfan has said, affordability is becoming a really important topic when it comes to mobility. And affordability means that public transportation is going to become more and more important. And given the investments that we've seen across the region into public transportation, micromobility solutions like Karim Bike can really enable commuters to use public transportation more effectively. We also have a service called HEL or Zeta, which focuses on high demand locations. So for instance, a concert or expo or even a FIFA World Cup are locations where demand is very high. And with this service, the customer can choose and pick the car rather than the opposite way around. Just one of the metrics to give you, in Qatar, for instance, we've been increasing our fleet size by 1,000 vehicles each month since January 2022, in anticipation of the higher demand for the FIFA World Cup. But even in Dubai and other feeder cities, we've been anticipating the higher demand to ensure that we can serve our customers effectively.
1,000 vehicles monthly is a huge investment. I'm sure you will see ROI on that once the FIFA World Cup begins. Now, Ms. Merchant, how have digitization services like omni-channel marketing and customer journey mapping and data analytics really impacted business operations and customer service at Ford?
Omnichannel has unlocked the potential of precision and predictive marketing. Customers want hyper-personalized experiences and develop affiliation with brands who understands their needs, expectations from their vehicles, distributors, manufacturers, and overall what is important to their life cycle. With customized tools, we have been able to manage the entire life cycle through campaigns, data analytics, nurturing leads efficiently and effectively. And with the use of algorithmic modeling, we are able to classify audiences and expand the existing ones. At Ford, we have lowered costs, saved time and resources, and grown our reach significantly by providing personalized experiences through dynamic creatives, for example, website personalizations, pick up customer journeys where they're left off, targeting hot prospects through one-to-one marketing, optimizing the website touchpoint through heat map analysis and customer journey surveys, thereby enabling higher engagement and retention. And specifically around customer service, one of Ford's main principles is to treat customers like family. And therefore, a team of highly skilled subject matter experts are rallied to deliver on this objective, transforming a customer's experience with Ford across an all-inclusive touch point. And in partnership with our distributors, we're working towards the same ambition, thereby improving customer experience today and growing retention for tomorrow.
Mr. Tansel, how are Masaood Automobiles' Digitize services and e-commerce platforms helping to deliver smooth, seamless, and personalized experiences to customers in this rapidly changing mobility landscape?
We have been quite fortunate to have a great team around us. When we established our midterm plan in 2017, we knew that digitization is going to be up and coming, and we had to be prepared. So we were the first Nissan dealer in Middle East, Africa, and Europe that has launched e-commerce platform in September 2019. So way before COVID came in. And since then, we've been developing and evolving that platform even further. Now, currently, customer journey can start and finish there literally by having made the payment and then receiving the car delivered at home. So test drive deliveries to the customer's home is possible. But also we have integrated finance and insurance schemes, so the customers can finance their vehicles with their banks through this online channel where the approvals are within 48 hours. So it's been a great journey with e-commerce, and the numbers that I have mentioned on our digital transformation and digital leads are testimony to that success story. But it hasn't stopped there, because we absolutely need to address every customer touch point when it comes to digitization. And that's why we also have launched our Masaood app. Masaood app provides customer to track their services, their vehicles within services, and communicate directly with our service advisors. Pick up and drop off services are offered. They can book their test drives. Just to tell you how agile we need to be in this business. In 2020, when COVID came in, we were able, for example, within a week to establish a platform, interactive customer experience called Clicks, and our customers were able to experience a showroom experience at home through video conferencing and from the comfort of their homes. So these are just some examples of the digital engagements and transformation we have implemented. But now, as I mentioned earlier, the most important item for us is to go into customer analytics of customers, the personas of customers, and their preferences. And for this, we have been engaged for the past 2 years to develop platforms and data where we have come a long way, I must say. We now know who our customers are. In the past, it used to be somebody's perception saying, well, I think, 50% of our customers are Emirati. Actually, no. We know at Nissan, 86.3% of our customers are Emirati. And we know 94 different criteria on our customers, ranging from their income to their personas, to their professions and everything else. So that enables us to do informed decision making, that enables us to address our customers properly and more effectively. So as you can see, Sami is among us. 20 years ago, there wouldn't be any tech company having a conversation with the automotive group, but they are part of us. So they actually help us also to serve our customers better, but at the same time, they're creating quite a bit competition. Right, Sami?
Interesting. Interesting that these long-held perceptions weren't actually true to reality. Mr. Jada, could you elaborate on the initiatives at Jada Automotive which have really helped to transform the traditional operating model to one that's empowered by digitization to deliver a more personalized approach?
We've been late to the game. We are actually launching our e-commerce platform within the next 14 days. A lot of people jumped on the e-commerce wagon when when COVID hit. We did not, for a very, clear reason. We didn't think that the approach of just let's just go ahead and build something immediately and put it out there was the best strategy. The way I see it is that a digital strategy has to is not just an addition to a sales or traditional sales strategy. It needs to live on its own. It's Amazon is today one of the biggest e-commerce platforms in the world. Why is it a standalone entity and it wasn't a existing library or an existing entity that actually created or an existing business that created the Amazon model? Is because you have to think digital. You have to think how to approach them and have a real digital sales strategy and a real P&L on its own. And there needs to be a seamless integration in our case between the physical and the digital. So the first step that we did is that last year we actually we added on top of our ERP system Salesforce, which allows us to have a much better front end approach in the showrooms with the customers. It helps the salespeople to have direct access to all the customers' information on the system in a much more easier way and a much more 360 approach on the customer view. We have all the data of the customer in front of every single front end person who's dealing with the customers. So we've established that, and now we have been working on the e-commerce, as I said, which was going to be launched in 14 days. One of the major points that we wanted to focus on is the seamless offline online approach. How do we make, because at the end of the day we have people who are going to start their journey online and then move offline and vice versa. And how could we make sure that there's a seamless integration and that the person that starts a journey in one way or in the other doesn't have to restart it when they move to the other side of the digital physical approach. So one of and that was one of the biggest challenges. How do you make sure that it is seamless without the customer feeling any setbacks? And again, as Irfan said, it's all about customer centricity, and it's how do you make it as easy as possible for the customer to live that journey. So one of the points that we have been looking at in our phase one is also the whole financing approach. How do we make sure that we can allow the customer to get the right information and really even do the financing request online without having to come to the showroom. They can do it from easily from the comfort of their couch. So that's what we've been doing. And again, the idea is an omni-channel experience, as Irfan rightly said. So what we are looking at too is hybrid models where, so for example, Hyundai is now pushing or promoting the idea of hybrid showrooms where it would be mini showrooms in malls where there's very just one or two cars, but a lot of digital experience within the showroom. So we're looking into that too, in order to be closer to the customers, allow customers to actually really have this choice between digital and physical without obliging them to be either one or the other.
Well, good luck with the launch. We'll be sure to check it out in 2 weeks' time. Mr. Amin, what other advancements would you say are being made by Careem to simplify and to improve the lives of people in urban communities across the Middle East region?
Improving, serving the customer and improving their lives on a daily basis remains our top priority. However, one of the things that we've seen is the drive towards a more sustainable future. We've launched, for instance, our Envo Plus service, which combines both electric and hybrid cars. What we've seen is that it doesn't just drive sustainability through a reduction in pollution in communities, but it also saves our captains in operating costs. And it's been highly successful. We also have, as I mentioned earlier, our micromobility service with over 200 stations and over 2,000 pedal-assisted bikes across the UAE. One of the biggest in the world, actually. We've served over 200,000 customers and generated almost 2.5 million trips. The average trips per bike exceeds even that in London, which shows that people really care about sustainability and affordability. Of course, not only when it comes to the mobility of people are we innovating, but also in the mobility of things. One of the new innovations that we're launching is robot deliveries, which should come to life very shortly. But we continue to look at the market and continue to understand how the space is shifting so we can be at the forefront of the industry.
Robot deliveries, up-and-coming tech to be used by Careem. Can't wait to see that. Ms. Merchant, in the new era of mobility, as you try to keep pace with evolving customer expectations, what are your thoughts on how auto dealerships can really enhance their services to move towards a digitally enabled future?
To begin with, when we say customers want a hyper-personalized experience, the brick and mortar interaction should be built on the same principles. The physical showrooms should be equipped with the same level of tech sophistication, intuitiveness, understanding, engagement, vehicle immersion, while respecting the customer's time. To be relevant in this era of mobility, we must keep moving, innovating, delivering, and be an enabler for the same for our customers. Whatever we do should be focused on solving something for our customer. Whether it is a test drive to their doorstep because they cannot get to us, or an augmented reality immersion because the product delivery date is delayed. Our Ford and Lincoln distributor partners in the Middle East recognize that and are focused on providing real-time support in this journey. From e-commerce, VR studios, augmented reality configurations, digital experience screens in the showroom, and soon to launch metaverse interactions.
Incredible use of technology. I'm looking forward to seeing your metaverse integrations. With that, we'll end today's conversation. Thank you to all of our panelists for sharing your insightful views on your businesses and your industry with us. We appreciate everyone's time, so a big thank you to all of the viewers joining us this afternoon as well. Goodbye.